right. Do we need to just start now, or Matt, you gonna, Mr. Morse, you gonna say something? Or?
Go ahead, sir. We're good.
Okay. My name's Brad McClinney. I'm the International Student Advisor here at Grayson. I've been here about 10 years. We have lots of international students. Several years ago, we probably had almost 100. Now we have about 40, 50. And everybody's seen the interview, Benjamin's first interview, correct? Okay. So this is interview number 2 with Benjamin. And you've been in the United States since January
6th.
January 6th?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you started class like January 23rd. You finished your 8 weeks. The original plan was we were going to interview them every year. And it was like, Leon made a good point. That's probably too long. We probably need a little bit more short periods to check on the progress. This isn't to embarrass anybody or put anybody on the spot. This is actually a really good learning tool for the college and for students as well. How many of you traveled in a different country? How many have been to a different country? Very good. And how did you feel about that? Were you very confident, or was there some apprehensions?
Culture shock. Culture shock, a little out of place.
Language, obviously, diet, didn't know how to get around. Anything else I'm missing on that? So it's very uncomfortable. So now we have a student, first time he's been in the United States, and he will be here probably maybe 5, 6 years without ever going home. And finish his education. That's pretty tough. That's a big step. So we're going to kind of recap just a little bit. How's it going so far? Your experience?
I can say it does good.
Okay.
Mainly, what's the major challenge I can say is the weather, the winter, the snow. I was not expecting it to be that cold, but so far we are getting to spring, which is
Okay. So the weather caught you by surprise.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Nothing else.
Is that the first time you've seen snow?
Yeah.
All right.
So back Kenya, there is no
Right.
snow. Yeah, we only like come holidays, and used to tell me in Kenya like 50 degrees, everyone is complaining of cold. And my cousin, when he came, he told us there we have snow in Texas, and the weather we have in Kenya, that's very little, not a challenge to him.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. So you're staying with your uncle.
Yeah.
And one of the things, an average international student that we get, the support system is not as good as Benjamin. Benjamin has a pretty good support system. He stays with his uncle. His uncle was from Kenya, has lived here, 25 years?
35.
35. And so his uncle's helping him kind of navigate through some of the challenges. So you're very fortunate on that. Some of our students, we had one that arrived yesterday, very little English. It's going to be in our intensive English program. Never been in the United States and doesn't have a support system. So you imagine how scary that could be. All right. Well, let's get into some classroom experiences. You talked about in your first interview when you went to high school and how structured. Do you guys remember how structured it was? Were you surprised on the strictness? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you lived there. It was a boarding school, and you woke up very early in the morning. I think 4 in the morning, and went to bed at 10 at night. That's incredible, and it was very structured.
Tough, yeah.
You wore uniforms. Your teacher was very strict, and so welcome to America. Now you've been in this
Thank you.
classroom, so how does that compare to what you're used to? Were you really surprised, or was it like?
It was kind of a surprise because in Kenya we were used to, right from elementary to high school, we were put in that environment where they teach us to be like strict. And we came here where the student, they make their own choices. So I'm kind of adapting. Yeah. I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you first walked into a classroom, and were you surprised on how people were dressed and behaved?
uniform. We don't, but pardon, rephrase again.
Okay. And how about student reaction pattern?
Class begin, kind of back care, class to be there once you begin.
Perfect. Sorry, I'm not trying to single you out. We're just leaving. You can't do that.
You can't do that. Once you get in the class until the teacher leaves, and the teacher leaves the class first. Yeah. So, and yeah, it was kind of change the students, they leave. So, kind of.
So it's not come and go. It's very strict.
Yeah, it's gradual. Yeah.
Okay. What about teachers? What about your interaction with teachers? You explained in the first interview that you feel like running from your teachers most of the time. What about here? Do you feel like you're comfortable with the interaction you have with your teacher? Or?
Yeah, I find the interaction good. Like the teacher, you talk at a personal level, which we don't get the opportunity back at home. The teacher, you only get to meet in class. So the environment you have here and the learning environment is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you feel totally comfortable to come up and talk to the teacher here and ask questions?
Yeah, I find it good.
It's really good. Okay. And what about your interaction with students? Have you been able to develop some friendships or some relationships with American students? And
yeah, in my class, the learning framework class, it's kind of like a team. The class we have like groups, so the groups we talk a lot. I tell them the experience I have back at home. We socialize a lot, so it's good.
Good.
Yeah.
That's what this is. This is a learning framework class, right? Okay, correct. Okay. So what's been the biggest challenge so far, or surprise? Now you've been here 8-9 weeks, and what has really surprised you about the United States? Is there anything that's just like, wow, I didn't know the United States was like this? Is there anything that has caught you off surprise? Or?
Apart from the weather, nothing much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The rest I've gotten into the system, so the rest, apart from the weather, there's nothing else. Yeah.
What about the food? Any problems with the food? Do we eat weird food here, or is it okay?
The food, I can say it's much sugary. Yeah.
How do you feel about the amount of work you have to do for your classes compared to what you did in high school in Kenya?
Here, there are a lot of work, I can say, compared to home, because there, so, yeah, I can say the amount of work is more.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's a good question. So the workload is. What about the technology here?
It's much advanced than the one we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about the verbal and nonverbal communication. I know when we first, and we're doing the same thing, when we first filmed, we're not really comfortable this close to each other because, there's personal space. Have you felt, has there been a challenge like talking to students or teachers? We use a lot of slang and we use a lot of idioms. We have hand gestures. Sometimes it might be confusing. Has there been any situation where you've, just totally didn't know what was going on because of the use of like slang and idioms?
Yeah. I can say like my accent, some of the people I meet, I can say they don't get it. So I have to like repeat to them. But the weeks later, I think it's much improving. And now hear the words clearly, yeah, without them repeating. Yeah, so it's getting better. Yeah.
What about you listening to us? When we have that Texas really bad accent thing, is it hard for you to understand when we're talking to you?
I can say when I landed the first month, it was kind of a challenge.
Okay.
Yeah, but now as the following weeks I've learned, now I can hear the words clearly. Yeah.
Okay. So I think the major challenge sometimes we have international students is we speak very fast, because obviously we know the language, and same here. So slowing down in communication, that's the key. If you really want to interact with an international student, I say the first really big tip is to just slow down a little bit. You don't want to talk ignorant or stupid, but just slow down a little bit. And our accents get in the way. I mean, that's just a part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, what about, and we talked about this before, like eye contact and personal space. Has that been an issue? Do you feel comfortable now looking at a teacher in the eye and kind of talking, or is that still really strange for you?
Yeah, it's kind of still strange because that's where I grew. It was not that, we didn't have that kind of eye contact, but now I'm kind of adapting slowly, and I can say I'm improving.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a student from Gabon, and I wanted to make sure she understood what I was. Just because an old guy like me wasn't, you know, but I just have that we need to just kind of, well, how come you're not looking? Well, my country, you know, we would. Been using.
No, apparently it's not confusing, but when I landed, like the first week, everyone was, yeah.
Over there. I know that's hard. It's been probably 9 weeks or so, and you haven't seen your family. Have you been able to stay in communication with them?
Yeah, like my mom, I talk to her regularly at night. She calls. Yeah, she calls because it's much cheaper if she calls than when I call. So we talk at night. She asks me how school, the homework, the exam and stuff. Yeah, we keep in contact.
What's the time difference there when she calls? Is it?
It's like, I can say Kenya is in front 9 hours.
Okay.
So, like, what's it? If it's 11 here, if I want to know the time in Kenya, I had like 9 hours. I know when they're still asleep or when they're awake. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have to make like I time.
Okay.
So I usually call her around 8 at 9, because it will be probably 11. Yeah. They'll probably still be awake. Yeah.
You mentioned in your first interview one of the major differences in your culture versus ours was community. You said when you're about ready to leave, everybody from your community gathered around, family, and sent you off, and there's a sense of community. In the United States, some of you might have that, but a lot of times we're very independent people. Our community's not that big of a deal. Have you noticed that, how we're kind of independent, or has that been any kind of?
You can say here people are independent, like the students. The subjects they choose, I can say, like the units they take in class, they kind of like do it on their own. Back in Kenya, like you have to sit down with your father or mother. She advises you on which course to take, which classes to take. And here, I find it different. You take it on your own without assistance from anyone. Yes,
So your parents have a huge input on what you're going to do in your career.
Yeah, like they kind of choose for you.
How many of you or your parents have had a non-traditional area where your parents have this huge? Okay. When you got here, is everything what you thought it was going to be? You said I'm finally at Grayson College, and or is there something you thought different? What about like the
Nothing.
schedules, the class schedules, and?
Oh, the class, I expected like more hours.
Okay.
Yeah, because there we have, like you get to class at 7, you start. You don't have a class room, so it's
Good. Doing good.
What do you do in your free time?
free time. I'll probably be at home or visiting my uncle in Fort Worth. Yeah, because like My aunt, she had like, she delivered last week, so much of the time, if I don't have classes, we travel, me and my uncle, we go and visit them, we help them, yeah.
So that sense of community again.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right, I think we're gonna open it up for questions. And just,
What's been the biggest obstacles you've overcome since you moved here?
Obstacle was communication,
Communication?
yeah, and the language barrier, yeah. Communication, yeah, the same thing. So I can say it's communication, yeah. Because at first it was, I found it hard listening to like you guys speaking. At first I could not get you, but now I can say it's much better, yeah.
has anybody helped you with that, or is that just something you had to kind of learn on your own, or did someone give you some tips on communicating, or is that just something that you just had to adjust to?
My uncle was very good at that,
Support system.
and my cousin, yeah, they gave me like the tips, like how to listen, yeah, so they were very helpful.
So how important is it to have your support group? How much more difficult would have it been if you didn't have your uncle and your family here?
And if you don't have, my uncle, he was very helpful, like he helped me get around. Yeah, so it's very, you don't feel lonely, because when I stay with them and their family, I just still feel, I feel at home,
Right.
as compared to when I stayed like in apartment alone. Yeah, so I can say staying with them has helped me. I still feel that environment of the family stuff, yeah, so it's good, yeah.
I read a statistic in to American, and there is a sense of loneliness and then kind of being cut off, so to speak, and so that's good. You're in an advantage there. That's really good.
It's good.
Good question. Okay.
I can say so all my life there, so the language, so it will take me a while to kind of like, yeah.
You talked about parents choosing what to do when it comes to school or make a decision for you. So since you are studying nursing, is it a decision from your parents or you choose to do it because you like it?
Good.
At first, I wanted to be a lawyer. So my uncle who lives in Fort Worth is a nurse. So he advised me that once I take nursing, the employment, there will be very many opportunities. So he's also a nurse, and I see what he's doing. So, like, he inspired me, kind of. So I just chose nursing also. Yeah,
Okay. So you're still going to be.
nursing.
What if you're going to change your major? Would you like call your parents? What if all of a sudden you decided you didn't want to be a nurse? Would you call your parents and have a discussion, or would you just say, "Hey, I'm going to do something else"? How would that work?
In case I wanted to change, yeah, I will still call them, because when I came home, they knew I would come to be a nurse. Yeah, so if in case I wanted to change, I will call them
Okay.
to hear from them, the advice. Yeah.
That's good. All right.
When you were in Kenya, did you have any hobbies or did you play any sports?
Yeah, I used to be an athlete. Yeah, athlete and also play soccer.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay, so-
I represented my school in the dash 100 meters. Yeah,
okay. So you ran. You were a sprinter.
yeah, sprinter.
Are there any extracurricular activities that you found that you like to do here?
Yeah, not yet, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
About watching TV, have you found anything that you?
yeah.
Well, I want to go ride bulls or something. Is there anything that you've been really interested in doing?
I can say that I follow NBA, and the Super Bowl. I also find it. I followed also the Super Bowl. Yeah,
We're very big in our sports.
Yeah.
Very big.
Do you plan on staying until you get your degree and then moving back? Plan on staying here?
Yeah, I plan on finishing my education up to a current level that I can be stable, get employment or something. Then I'll move back to help the
visa, and that's and give them the paperwork. They go to the consulate and the embassy, ask questions, and if Ben doesn't answer those questions properly, qualify the non-immigrant here will get free and can and will go back to his country. Now, a lot of times you see internationals that stay. It's because they've changed their status, which is totally legal. There's nothing illegal about that, but there's processes and
With your experience in America, do you plan on, when you go back home, to recommend others to come to America and have this experience?
so far. They're not even-
It's been a while, but.
yeah. Yeah, so far, yeah, I would very much recommend them because the learning is good, the experience, yeah, so I would very much recommend.
Have you noticed any change in yourself so far from this experience?
Not yet, unless my uncle tells me or my cousin, yeah.
Okay, hang on. I think we have the guy in the red hat.
If you didn't come over here, what would you be doing back home right now?
Ooh.
Back at home, probably I'll be in a university or college doing my law degree, yeah.
So you stayed
So,
been
like,
a lawyer
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Okay.
So, like, the process of my applying, it was not guaranteed that when I go to the embassy, I will get the visa. So I planned on, if in case it backfired, I planned on going to joining a Kenyan university. Yeah.
It's a little bit of a slang idiom there. Backfire, very good. All right.
There's a lot of restaurants here in America. Do they have those there?
Like
Kenya,
fast food restaurants? Is that what we're
fast
talking
food,
about?
And how do you feel about all the, everywhere there is?
In Kenya, we have, we have them, but most of the families, they prefer cooking for themselves. And mostly it is the wife that does the cooking, yeah. So the fast food, they go like rarely, like once in a month, yeah. Or maybe if there's an event like a church, a wedding or stuff, yeah. That's when, but most of the time people cook at home, yeah.
We're so busy here that we almost count on our fast food restaurants to kind of feed us. And so, have you noticed, or there might not be a difference, but how fast-paced compared to your country, as far as how we do things and move and how busy we are? No difference with that.
I can say the time factor is good here. In Kenya, like, if probably you arrange with someone for a meeting, you tell them, like, get here by 9. They better never.
Yeah, it's called African time, and that's a big adjustment because if class starts up,
Yeah.
obviously you have to be there. But on meetings and in your country, sometimes that's give or take. Like that was a you probably wouldn't be considered for the job. In this country, probably okay, but that's a good difference. All
Yeah.
right.
And it has helped me a lot keeping my time. Yeah. So I can say much now, I have like a time, my time management has improved.
So do you like this? You
Yeah.
like the idea that you have to be punctual and on time?
Yeah, I like it.
Good. It usually aggravates my students a lot. That's good. Very, very good.
Like here we have 4 seasons here. So in Kenya, how many seasons do you have?
Can say Kenya, it's probably the same temperature throughout the year. Occasionally it rains during the month of April, but pretty much January to December, it's the same temperature. Doesn't change, doesn't go high, right?
You get
Constant.
A rainy season and a dry season is probably the difference.
Yeah, so like around July, it gets drier. and around April it's wet. It rains a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, floods and stuff. Yeah.
You don't have tornadoes or anything?
No.
Well, you'll
Yeah.
probably get to see one here in about a month or two.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the job market like when you get back? Are you gonna have problems finding work when you go back, or?
That's good. So, what's the advantages of getting a degree in the United States? When you go home, you get a job quicker? Is it more marketable? That's a good question.
Yeah,
Is that where you're headed on that? Okay.
I can say it's more marketable because they want to get that new work, new experience at work. Yeah.
Okay.
They want to inject new blood into their system. So I can say it's good.
Your knowledge.
If you study outside, you have a greater job opportunity than the rest.
And that's the big question. You know, there's like 900,000 F1 and M1 students that come to the United States. I said, well, why do they do that? So it's almost like a gold ticket when they go back. It's the universities, the technology. Are we done? No. Go ahead.
What's the yearly salary over in Kenya? How much make over there?
Be like an average salary, like the economy she's talking about. Now, here we have a minimum wage of what, $7.50, $7.25 an hour.
To the level, like this and more, the person who had like, if you went like the PhD, the master's level, you earn more than those who probably have one degree. Yeah.
So what would they, do you have any idea what that amount would be? If someone with a degree, what they make?
Not
What's an
that-
average income over there? Any idea of what? And you can look that up on CIA fact sheet. You can probably look some of that information up if you trust our government.
The minimum wage, I'm not well
Okay.
conversant. Yeah, let's have to check it. Yeah.
We had a young man from Kosovo, and he said, I think someone that teaches in university over there makes $400 a month or something like that. And so that's something to look at. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has your health changed since eating American food?
Very good question.
I work out a lot, so I can say I've managed to keep my body in shape. So, no, yeah.
But it's only been 9 weeks. He taps into those Big Macs
you know,
or something. It might be different.
My uncle tells me I'll add some weight, so we kind of had like an agreement. Like he keeps telling me you'll add weight, and I keep telling him I won't. So yeah.
Well, you have a good support system.
Yeah.
I've seen some students gain 30-something pounds in about a year and a half because of our fast food, and we eat horribly. So, yeah. Anything that you really like food-wise, or you're like, I've never had this before, this is really good, or have you experimented with a lot of fast food stuff yet?
I'm not that into fast food, so
Good. Stay that way. You'll be good. That's good. All right.
Have you picked a favorite food yet? Like, it doesn't have to be fast food, like anything.
Not
You
yet.
tried
Not
Mexican
yet.
food or Chinese food?
I've not tried Mexican food, Chinese food, so probably tell me you.
House and she felt
Guy fall in love with lasagna one time. That's the guy who gained all that weight, by the way. All right.
What is that?
So, yeah. At first, I wanted to go to UTA in Texas, but the price is kind of high.
Made a good choice. again.
You said your uncle's from Kenya too?
Yeah.
Does he cook like some of the same foods y'all have over there, or does he cook like American food?
My uncle, his wife is the one who does most of the cooking, and she likes.
Well, yeah, like does she like?
Yeah, she likes experimenting. So at times she cooks Kenyan food. At times also she cooks American food. Yeah.
So you might have had some Chinese food, not even knowing. It's quite possible she slipped something in there.
How
Okay.
different is the two different countries with American food versus Kenyan food? How different is that?
The American food, I find it has more sugar compared to the one we have. Yeah. So I kind of like, I eat a little and I'm already feel satisfied.
That's good.
You mentioned something about like respect your parents and whatever they say, that's what you do. So my question is, can you say no to your parent, like when they ask you to do something and you didn't feel like doing it, can you tell them no, or you have to do it?
Talking back there or here now as he's in the United States?
Before you reach the age of 18, you can never say no. But once you cross, yeah, they leave you to make your own decision. But before you reach 18 adulthood, it's kind of a risk.
So you would never say, hey, I'm not going to do that?
No.
Okay.
Okay, do you have like freedom of religion, like to choose your own religion, or you have to do whatever your parents want?
No. In Kenya, so unless you are an adult, you have moved out. But once you still stay with your parents, you have to go to the same church. Yeah. You do as they do.
Or like what if they don't?
Say make it cheaper. Sorry.
Those that are unfortunate who don't have families, say maybe have a support system to check on them, school work and stuff. Yeah.
Got that.
Yeah.
Good. Good. All right. Any other questions?
Do you think because of your educational background that you have a better advantage of learning and doing better here than we do?
I believe in hard work, so I think if I work hard, I'll just be the same as you. Yeah.
So did all that structure that you had in your boarding school, being on time, wearing uniforms, running the class, did that prepare you for this, or you think that you're better prepared now, or?
The learning background we had was kind of like military. So
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very.
So the one I find here was kind of relaxed. So I find
No
it
one's
good.
gonna slash you or spank you here. Nobody's gonna do that.
Yeah. So I find it much easier, I can say. Because they are strict. So yeah, it's relaxed. So just fit in.
Good. All right. That was about 30 minutes or so. Is that it? Thank you, sir. You did good, as always. All right.